Welcome to my video. In my videos you will not only find famous quotes and proverbs, but I will also explain their meaning. Because I wish that even after I die, I can pass on these famous sayings and interpretations to everyone. Please subscribe my channel to take this initiative of mine one step further. Without further delay, let the video begin. The saddest thing I can imagine is to get used to luxury. The meaning behind the quote: if life is treating you well because of your efforts, or even perhaps you were born into a luxurious life, don't forget the way things were or are for others. Have gratitude. You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Sir Charles Chaplin wants to tell us through these quote, in fact, smile changes everything, from an outside perspective, but also from an inside perspective too. Your inner chemistry will work differently, and you'll become more willing to do positive and constructive actions. What do you want a meaning for? Life is a desire, not a meaning. The meaning behind the quote. Thus, he called life a desire. Life is not a desire, but an opportunity to create beautiful moments with other human beings and nature. The purpose of life is to understand the reality as it is and achieve bliss. The absolute simple meaning of life is understanding coexistence and living in coexistence. In the end, everything is a gag. According to Sir Charles Chaplin, life is a gag. Not only life, everything we struggle to achieve is a gag. Many people show consent with this notion, while a majority of the others disagree with him. If I gave my review on this quote, I will definitely agree with Sir Chaplin. Throughout our whole life, we struggle hard to fulfill our desires and aims. Our struggle began with the meetup of sperms and eggs in the womb of our mothers. The next stage is our childhood, where we are unable to take care of ourselves. We have to struggle to feed our body. We make our best trying weeping, so that we may get our desired food. In our youth, we have to struggle to achieve our aims and goals. After achieving our goals and aims, our next move is to find the best life partner. Then, we have to spend the other part of life in nourishing our children and making their lives better. Then, we have to start our journey towards old age and death. Here, I have a question. Doesn't it seem like a gag? Every achievement and goal of ours seems meaningless at the end. My suggestions for my own self and others is to find catharsis in suffering. Try to make the lives of others comfortable and soothing. Our life's main aim should be to serve the humanity. We should try to help each other in the hour of our need, because in the end, this gag will also vanish. A man's true character comes out when he's drunk. This quote says that, while under the influence, you'll probably act differently, but that doesn't mean drinking reveals who you really are. Alcohol lowers inhibitions, leading you to act more impulsively and care less about how others adversely regard your behavior. You'll never find a rainbow if you're looking down. This is funny quote, but very deep. Rise your head up, for the same reasons we've appointed in the Chaplin's smile quote. There's a beautiful life to be lived, so enjoy it. Don't focus on problems, focus on solutions. Life is a tragedy when seen in close-up, but a comedy in long shot. Meaning of this quote: whenever we face hardship in our lives, just smile, let up and never give up. One day in the future we will be able to smile when we think about obstacles we are facing today. failure is unimportant. It takes courage to make a fool of yourself. This quote represents, just like a life coach could have told you. Chaplin knows that failure is indispensable if you want to achieve something great. Sometimes, you really need to make a fool of yourself to succeed. And who better to tell this than the greatest comic actor of all time? We think too much and feel too little. This quote says that because we let our mind become our master and our heart becomes our second priority. We look for logic in every situation, and our analytical mind overworks. We don't give weightage to our feelings and emotions. This is what we call being practical in life. This is part of the speech known as the greatest speech of all time in The Great Dictator movie. Chaplin makes an on-point speech about how machinery is replacing humanity and how that can affect our race, making this speech timeless. I remain just one thing, and one thing only, and that is a clown. It places me on a far higher plane than any politician. This quote says that, again the funny side, but a very deep statement. Politicians want to be portrayed as someone that is perfect, but there's no such thing, so they have to play different roles to satisfy everyone, and that makes them somewhat fake. Sir Chaplin, on the contrary, is unafraid of his imperfections. He's a clown, simply putted, for the good or the worst, he comes with his full self in it. Why should poetry have to make sense? Meaning of this quote is, some poetry may not make sense to you. But that's because poets don't write to be understood by others. They write because they must. The feelings and emotions that reside within them need to be expressed. Poetry writing helps people discover who they are. It helps individuals stay in tune with their thoughts and feelings. Through writing, a person can find out more about their personality, likes and dislikes, passions and interests. Poetry is also a good way to express opinions on certain issues. Nothing is permanent in this wicked world, not even our troubles. The meaning behind the quote, yes. Very true statement, something you must remember when going through hard times. Things will change, just work on the solutions and things will change. I am for people. I can't help it. Sir Charlie Chaplin wants to tell us through these quote, when someone says I can't help it, or I can't help doing it, it's a way of saying that they don't want to do a particular thing, because they know it's not good, but they can't stop themselves from doing it. My pain may be the reason for somebody's laugh. But my laugh must never be the reason for somebody's pain. Sir Charlie Chaplin wants to tell us through these quote, so deep, just to show you Chaplin's thoughts were way advanced for his time. In the first sentence, he can be referring to his acting. People should laugh at him, because it's his purpose, or even real life he doesn't care. But in the second sentence, he clearly separates himself on a personal level. Imagination means nothing without doing. This quote represents your ideas, your thoughts, your creativity. It's all cool. But if you don't use them, they are pointless. You must try and do things, because only by doing you can know what works and what doesn't. If you just think and create in your mind, you'll never know if it works or not. You need power only when you want to do something harmful otherwise. Love is enough to get everything done. This quote says that this surely can be controversial for some people. But love is the most powerful tool we have and we can use to build and change things. The mirror is my best friend, because when I cry it never laughs. Meaning of this quote, again a deep statement. Sir Chaplin uses the mirror as a contrast to what people might do. There is to laugh when someone is doing bad, crying. This is good advice on life. If people are crying, and you want to help, you must feel their pain, also to understand things, and provide them with the better solution. A day without laughing is a day wasted. Sir Charlie Chaplin wants to tell us through these quote, did you waste your day today? When you laugh, you change, and when you change, the whole world changes around you and it turns magical. There are more valid facts and details in works of art than there are in history books. The meaning behind the quote, you know that, when there's a dictatorship they do a thing called propaganda, they control the media and education. So, if they want to write history books claiming a dictator has a hero, they will do it, and trick the younger generations. This is one example of what Chaplin's is talking about. On the contrary, works of art are not fabricated, they are original pieces of art from someone who lived in that era, so they contain more valid facts than manipulated history books. Life is a play that does not allow testing. So sing, cry, dance, laugh and live intensely, before the curtain closes, and the piece ends with no applause. This quote represents great metaphor for life. Make sure you do what you have to do in this life, to receiving a final standing ovation. I always like walking in the rain, so no one can see me crying. Sir Charlie Chaplin wants to tell us through these quote, is so full of pathos it makes me want to cry. It says you have to be strong, never let anyone see your pain or disappointment, find a way to bury the hurt until, in solitude, you can slowly release your despair. Actors search for rejection. If they don't get it, they reject themselves. The meaning behind the quote, one of the best ways to deal with rejection is to have a thick skin. Actors need to be able to take criticism and use it to improve their craft. It's also important to remember that not everyone will like you or your work. The most important thing is to keep putting yourself out there and believe in your talent. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. This quote represents probably the most famous sequence of The Great Dictator is the 5-minute speech that concludes the film. Here Chaplin drops his comic mask and speaks directly to the world, conveying his view that people must rise up against dictators and unite in peace.